Have you ever wondered if the CEO in the glass tower or the emperor on the marble throne feels the same gnawing anxiety you do while staring at your laptop at 2 a.m.? I can answer that for you. They do. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, ruled an empire that stretched across the known world. He commanded legions, his face was on every coin, his word was law. And yet, if you open his private journal, the book we now call Meditations, you will not find the grand strategies of a conqueror. You will find the raw, unfiltered thoughts of a man battling sleepless nights, wrestling with frustration, and fighting against a mind racing with worry. The very same mental battles you fight every single day, the chaos of the Roman frontier and the chaos of your digital newsfeed generate the exact same internal storm. But here is the critical difference. Marcus Aurelius found an operating system for the mind that allowed him to not just endure this chaos, but to command himself within it. It's a timeless system for forging an unbreakable inner peace, and it's not a secret reserved for emperors. I know that 3 a.m. anxiety intimately. In my former life, before I dedicated myself to this work, I built and ran a technology company. I remember one night, weeks before a critical product launch, a deal worth tens of millions of dollars hanging in the balance. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding in my chest. My mind was a whirlwind of catastrophic scenarios. What if the server crashes? What if our competitor releases their version first? What if the presentation is a disaster? What if my team thinks I'm a fraud? I was mentally shadowboxing with ghosts, phantoms that hadn't happened and might never happen. Each punch I threw only exhausted me further. This is the universal anxiety trap. Whether you, a Roman emperor worried about a barbarian invasion, or an entrepreneur worried about a market downturn, the mechanism is identical. Your mind hijacks your present moment to obsess over a future you cannot control. It is the single most inefficient and destructive use of human energy. It wasn't until I stumbled upon the Stoics, and specifically upon Marcus's private struggles, that I realized I was fighting the wrong war. The battle wasn't with the market, my competitors, or the opinions of others. The battle was inside my own skull. The Stoics call these racing thoughts phantasiae, impressions or appearances. They are not reality. They are mental graffiti, and you've been letting them vandalize the sanctuary of your mind. The first step to power is to see them for what they are, mere suggestions, not sentences. They are clouds passing in the sky of your awareness, and you are the sky, not the clouds. So, let me ask you this, and I want you to answer with brutal honesty. How many hours have you lost this week battling ghosts? How much of your precious, finite energy has been poured into wrestling with scenarios that exist only in your imagination? Be honest with yourself, because acknowledging the cost is the first step toward reclaiming your power. The foundation of the Stoic operating system, the single principle that can extinguish 99% of your anxiety, is a radical and liberating idea known as the Dichotomy of Control. Epictetus, a man born a slave who became one of Rome's most revered philosophers, put it with stark simplicity: some things are within our power, while others are not. That's it. That is the master key to unlocking an iron mind. Within our power are our thoughts, our judgments, our choices, our actions, and our responses. Everything internal, everything that originates within our own consciousness. Outside our power is, well, everything else. The actions of other people, their opinions of you, the weather, the economy, the past, the future, your health, your reputation, life, and death. Think about that. Almost everything you waste your time worrying about falls squarely into that second category. Your anxiety is the direct result of a strategic error. You are trying to command a battlefield over which you have no authority. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, my company spent 2 years and millions of dollars developing a groundbreaking piece of software. We were convinced it would change the industry. 1 week before our launch, our primary competitor released a similar product that was, frankly, a little bit better. The market went wild for it. The media narrative was set before we even got out of the gate. I felt a cold dread wash over me. My first reaction was a storm of rage and panic. I wanted to blame my team, the market, the unfairness of it all. I was trying to control the uncontrollable, my competitors' actions, the press's opinions, the timing of the market. I was on the fast track to burnout. But then my early Stoic training kicked in. I took out a piece of paper and drew 2 columns. Not my control, the competitor's product, the press reviews, the customer reaction, my control, my response to my team, the strategy for our next update, the honesty of my communication with our board, the lessons we could learn from our competitor's success. The moment I sorted reality into those 2 columns, the panic subsided. It was replaced by a cold, clear sense of purpose. My energy was no longer scattered, wasted on fighting gravity. It was focused, like a laser, on the few critical levers I could actually pull. We didn't try to fight their narrative, we created our own. We focused on impeccable customer service, something we could control. We doubled down on a niche feature they had overlooked, a choice that was ours to make. Within a year, we had carved out a profitable, loyal segment of the market. We survived and eventually thrived, not by controlling the world, but by relinquishing the illusion of control and mastering ourselves. This isn't about being passive. It's about being a master strategist of your own life's energy. It is the ultimate mental discipline. So I ask you, look at the primary source of your stress right now. Are you fighting on a battlefield you can actually win, or are you wasting your life's energy wrestling with the wind? If you think this philosophy is only for modern anxieties like product launches or stressful emails, let's travel back to the year 161 AD. Marcus Aurelius has just been crowned Emperor of Rome. This is not a time of peace and prosperity. It is a crucible. The Antonine Plague, one of the deadliest pandemics in human history, is sweeping through the empire, killing millions. Barbarian tribes are invading from the north. His most trusted general, Avidius Cassius, betrays him and declares himself emperor, sparking a civil war. The treasury is empty. The people are starving and terrified. This is a level of stress that is almost unimaginable. The fate of the civilized world rests squarely on his shoulders. And in the midst of this relentless, overwhelming crisis, what does he write to himself in his tent on the battlefield? He doesn't write about military strategy or political maneuvering. He writes, "Confine yourself to the present." Think about the profound discipline in that statement. Surrounded by past betrayals and the terrifying uncertainty of the future, he commanded his own mind to focus only on the here and now. He understood that the past was a canceled check, and the future was a promissory note. The only currency he truly possessed was the present moment. That was the only place where his agency, his power of choice, actually existed. Even the most powerful man in the world recognized the futility of trying to control what had already happened or what was yet to come. He needed a system to anchor his mind, and that system was a ruthless, moment-by-moment commitment to his sphere of control. He could not control the plague, but he could control his policies to manage it. He could not control his general's betrayal, but he could control the mercy and justice of his response. He could not control the invading tribes, but he could control the discipline and morale of his own legions. I once mentored a young founder, a brilliant woman whose company was on the verge of collapse. She was completely paralyzed. She spent her days obsessively replaying a failed funding round from 6 months prior, dissecting every mistake. She spent her nights sleepless, terrified of what her competitors might do in the next 6 months. She was living everywhere but the present, and her company was dying because of it. I didn't give her business advice. I gave her the same instruction Marcus gave himself. Confine yourself to the present. I had her write it on a card and tape it to her computer monitor. Her only job for 1 week was to ask of every task, "Does this serve my customers today? Not yesterday's investors, not tomorrow's competitors, today's customers." The shift was seismic. By focusing her team's entire energy on the present, controllable reality, she began to solve real problems. Service improved. Bugs were fixed. Customers were happy. Within 3 months, that present moment focus attracted a new investor who was blown away by their execution, not their 5-year plan. She saved her company by ceasing to worry about saving her company and instead focusing on the work of a single day. So, what part of your attention are you giving away to yesterday or tomorrow, and what would happen if you reclaimed it for the task at hand, right now? Knowing the theory is one thing. Putting it into practice when the storm of anxiety hits is another entirely. This is not an academic exercise, it is a training regimen for your mind. So right now, we are going to walk through the single most practical, powerful tool for applying the dichotomy of control in your daily life. I call it the 5-minute anxiety audit. It is a mental martial art, and it requires nothing more than a pen, a piece of paper, and 5 minutes of radical honesty. You do this first thing in the morning to inoculate yourself against the day's chaos, or in the middle of a crisis to regain your footing. Step 1. The unfiltered inventory. For 2 minutes, you will write down every single thing that is causing you anxiety. Everything. No filter, no judgment. Pour the poison onto the page, the looming deadline, the awkward conversation you need to have, your kids' grades, the weird noise your car is making, the state of the world, your financial worries, a health concern. Get it all out of your head and onto the paper. This act alone is powerful. It externalizes the thoughts, showing you that you are the container, not the contents. Step 2. The Stoic sort. For the next 2 minutes, draw a line down the middle of the page. On the left side, write "My control." On the right, "Not my control." Now, go through your inventory, item by item, and sort them into the correct columns. This is an act of supreme authority. You are the general of your mind, deciding which battles are worth fighting. The deadline for the report? That goes under my control, but only in the sense of the effort you put in, not the final reception. My boss's reaction to the report? That goes squarely under not my control. My spouse's bad mood? Not my control. My patient and loving response to their mood? My control. Be ruthless. Be honest. Most of your list, I guarantee, will end up on the right side of the page. Step 3. Action and assent. This is the final, decisive minute. For everything in the My Control column, you will write down one single, concrete action you can take today. Not work harder, but spend 45 minutes outlining the first section after lunch. The goal is to transform vague anxiety into a specific, manageable task. For everything in the Not My Control column, your task is different. It is not simply to let go. It is to practice what the Stoics called amor fati, a love of fate. You are to give your assent to reality. You accept it as a fact of the universe, as unchangeable as gravity. You write a single letter next to each one. A for accept, accepting your partner. S mood doesn't mean you like it. It means you stop wasting energy trying to change something you can ati. You accept the reality of the situation, which frees you to focus on your response, the only thing you can control. When you look at your Not My Control list, can you feel the immense weight that lifts when you give yourself permission to drop those burdens? That is the feeling of freedom. There is a single quote from Epictetus that, if you truly internalize it, can fundamentally re-architect your entire experience of life. It's not a platitude, it is a razor-sharp surgical tool for the mind. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Let's dissect that, because it's the most liberating and demanding truth you will ever encounter. Events in the world are raw, neutral data. A traffic jam is a collection of cars stopped on a road. A critical comment from your boss is a series of sound waves entering your ear. A market crash is a set of numbers changing on a screen. These things have no inherent meaning. They are not intrinsically good or bad. The suffering, the anger, the anxiety, that is not created by the event. It is created by the interpretation, the judgment, the story you layer on top of the event. The pain is a product of your reaction, not the thing itself. This is where my own life broke, and where it was rebuilt. My crucible moment was a severe burnout that cost me my health and a key business relationship. The events were a market downturn and a partner's betrayal. My reaction was a story of victimhood, injustice, and failure. I told myself, the market wiped me out. He betrayed me. I have lost everything. This story produced chronic anxiety, reactive anger, and a profound sense of despair. It was this reaction, this narrative, that led me to the edge of collapse. It wasn't until I encountered this quote that I understood the error. The events were simply data. The market corrected. That's what markets do. My partner made a choice based on his own values and fears. That's what people do. These were external facts, as neutral as rain. My suffering was a choice, a product of my interpretation. The Stoic shift was to consciously choose a new response. I stopped being the protagonist of a tragedy and became the analyst of a data set. The new story became, the market presented a new reality. My former partner's actions provided valuable, if painful, information about trust. What is the wisest, most virtuous way I can respond to this new reality? The focus shifted from what was done to me to what I could do. This is not positive thinking. This is not pretending a disaster is a good thing. It is practical philosophy. It is the understanding that you cannot control the storm, but you can always control the set of your sail. This one shift in perspective transforms your entire life, from a series of events you endure into a series of choices you make. A traffic jam is no longer a source of rage. It is an unexpected block of time to listen to an audiobook or make a hands-free call. Harsh criticism is no longer a personal attack. It is free data for improvement. A rejection is no longer a verdict on your worth. It is a redirection toward a different path. What is one recurring negative event in your life that you can choose, right now, to reinterpret as neutral data, and in doing so, reclaim your power over it? Understanding these principles is useless without consistent, rigorous application. An iron mind is not found, it is forged. It is built day by day, choice by choice, through deliberate practice. This is not about a single moment of insight, but about installing a new operating system that runs continuously in the background of your life. It requires creating a structure, a set of non-negotiable habits that reinforce this new way of thinking until it becomes your default state. This is how you move from being an emotional reactor to becoming a deliberate creator of your own mental fortitude. The implementation is simple, but it is not easy. It demands consistency. Your new daily protocol has 3 parts. First, the morning briefing. Every single morning before you check your phone, before you let the world's chaos flood your mind, you will perform the 5-minute anxiety audit. You will sit with your journal and separate the controllable from the uncontrollable. This is your strategic planning session for the day. You are telling your mind what is signal and what is noise. You are defining your battlefield before the first shot is even fired. Second, the daytime practice. Throughout the day, you will use a cognitive interrupt. It's a simple question you ask yourself whenever you feel the stirrings of anxiety, anger, or frustration. Is this in my control? That's it. That simple question acts as a circuit breaker. When a colleague is late, before you react with frustration, you ask the question. Their punctuality? Not in your control. Your choice to use the extra 5 minutes productively? In your control. When you see a worrying news headline, you ask the question. The event itself? Not in your control. Your choice to read one article to be informed and then move on, in your control. This Stoic interrupt stops emotional hijacking in its tracks and forces you back into a position of rational command. Third, the evening review. Before you go to sleep, take another 5 minutes. This practice comes from Seneca, who reviewed his day every single night. Ask yourself 3 questions. What did I do well today in managing my mind? What did I do poorly? What specific action could I take to improve tomorrow? This is not about self-flagellation. It is about iteration. You are a scientist of your own mind, gathering data, analyzing performance, and making adjustments. It is a process of continuous improvement. I challenge you to commit to this protocol for 30 days. Get a dedicated notebook for this practice. The physical act of writing is critical. A mentee of mine, a man who was chronically overwhelmed and always felt like he was playing defense in his own life, took this 30-day challenge. He called me after 3 weeks and said, "Cassian, for the first time since I can remember, I feel like I'm playing offense. The world is throwing the same chaos at me, but it doesn't stick. I'm no longer a firefighter, I'm an architect." Are you willing to invest 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening to reclaim 16 hours of calm, focus, and agency in between? When you consistently practice the anxiety audit, the Stoic interrupt, and the evening review, you are not just managing anxiety. You are doing something far more profound. You are building. You are laying the foundation, brick by meticulous brick, of what Marcus Aurelius called your inner citadel. This is one of the most powerful concepts in all of philosophy. Your inner citadel is a fortress inside your own mind, a place of ultimate safety, clarity, and peace. It is a sanctuary you can retreat to at any moment, regardless of the chaos raging in the external world. The market can crash, your relationships can face turmoil, your health can fail, the world can descend into madness, but your inner citadel remains untouched, invulnerable, because its walls are not built from external things like money, status, or the approval of others. Its walls are built from your reasoned judgments, your virtuous choices, and your acceptance of what you cannot control. Most people spend their entire lives trying to build a fortress of external security. They believe that if they just get enough money, the right job, the perfect partner, or enough social media followers, they will finally feel safe. But this is a tragic illusion. It is building your house on sand. Any external possession can be taken from you in an instant. A market turn, a betrayal, a diagnosis, a simple accident, and the entire structure collapses, leaving you exposed and terrified. The Stoic path is the opposite. It is the realization that true safety, true strength, is entirely internal. The goal is not to control the world, which is impossible, but to build a mind so disciplined, so resilient, that it no longer needs the world to be a certain way in order to be at peace. My burnout was the moment the walls of my external fortress crumbled. I had built my identity on my success, my wealth, my reputation. When those things were threatened, I had no inner citadel to retreat to. I had only the rubble of my external achievements. My journey back was the slow, deliberate process of building that inner fortress. I learned that my true real estate was the space between stimulus and response. I discovered that the only permanent victory is mastery over your own mind. That is the only asset you will ever truly own, the only ground that can never be taken from you. The purpose of this practice is not to create a life free from problems. That life doesn't exist. The purpose is to become the person who is bigger than any problem, to forge a self that external chaos cannot breach. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if external events no longer had the power to dictate your internal state of being? We have journeyed through the timeless operating system of the Stoics, from the core principle of control to the practical tools for building your inner citadel. But knowledge is only potential power. Action is real power. This entire conversation is meaningless unless you translate it into a deliberate choice right now. This is not entertainment. This is training. And the training begins with a single decisive act of renunciation. You must consciously choose to lay down a burden you were never meant to carry. So here is your challenge. I want you to go to the comments section right now and declare one thing you will stop worrying about today. One thing you will consciously release from your concern because you have identified it as being outside of your control. It could be someone else's opinion of you. It could be the outcome of a project. It could be a past mistake. Be specific. Write it down. Make a public declaration. This is an act of liberation. By typing it out, you are signing a treaty of peace with reality. I will be reading these comments. I will see your commitment, and I will personally respond to as many as I can. This channel is a training ground. We are a cohort of modern warriors dedicated to forging an iron mind. If you are serious about this work, if you are done being a slave to your own anxieties, then subscribe and activate the notification bell. Because tomorrow, we move beyond defense. We will explore how to use this newfound mental clarity not just to find peace, but to pursue your most ambitious goals with relentless, focused energy. The time for being a passive victim of circumstance is over. The time to become the architect of your inner world has begun. Your iron mind depends on it.